Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar. You're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression because I am very high.
Ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash.
Yeah. Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Stop.
And welcome everybody to the Libertarian Podcast Review. This is Tyler Yonke. It's a Friday afternoon. We've got a special guest in here with you today, but first I just wanted to say a few things. One, thanks for all the support you've given us in 2023. A little bit, Andy's given us a little bit of support. He sent me a message. He says, I don't know how much use I'll be, but I'll try. And I'm like, that's the kind of support, that's what I expect out of you every show. So anyway, usually I start this show off with a commercial, but instead of that, we're going to bring Andy in right away. He's traveling, so I don't know if he's actually going to be able to even talk. You can say hi, Andy.
I'm reporting live from the West Bank. There's a lot of Israeli hook noses here. They're taking pot shots at my testicles, but I think I'm going to be all right.
That is horrible audio. Okay, I hope you don't make it out alive. But to make this all good, let's bring in our special guest for tonight. You know him, you love him. It's Steve Fox of Fox and Sons Coffee, and he does other things. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I was on a show with you. I think it was Justin, and
yeah.
I didn't know about you, and then I liked you immediately, by the way. So you were a funny guy, and I enjoyed it. And then you decided to do the unthinkable and give us coffee. So I love coffee, and I'm drinking it all the time. So I thought, what a better person to have come on the show, and we'll talk about some of these things. And you do other things as well. Plus, You're just in this whole space. So why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about you first of all, and then we can go from there.
Well, I grew up in the Detroit area of Michigan. Lived here almost my entire life. Lived down in Nashville for a couple of years. Been doing photography for close to 32 years professionally. Whether it's been assisting, now I'm full-time shooting. And a couple of years back, after the wonderful experience of COVID, I decided to start another business, roasting and selling coffee. So we are running both businesses right now, and I advertise on your show, on Fact Check This with Justin, on Mark Claire's show. I'm going to forget somebody. ITL, It's Too Late. I'm on with him. I'm on Tommy's show, Year Zero, and a few others. So, dang it, man. Drawing a blank. Kyle's show. Matovic. I'm on his show, too. Probably another 2 or 3.
Yeah. So first of all, why did you decide to advertise on these libertarian-esque, because they were in the libertarian movement or they're out of it, but they're all kind of really adjacent. And Mark Claire is like a prime example of that, right? Where he was obviously Lions Liberty. Now he's kind of out of it, but yet, his toes are still dipped in there. Andy, I'm going to mute you. Okay, there you
go. Well, I'm advertising with people that I like, with people to reach a different audience. Most of the people that I advertise with were just, honestly, out of Justin, from working with Justin on the show, met Justin through Mark Metz. So just Justin had me on a couple times on the Fact Check This, and then had, I'm on once in a while on the morning show. So just with people I've met from there that I've liked. With Mark Claire, that was a different story. That's a long story. I was a Patreon member of Lions of Liberty for a long time. Mark Claire was actually my least favorite when I was a libertarian, when I used to listen to those shows. I liked him. He was just like the guy who I listened to once in a while, not all the time. I love McWilliams' Good Morning Fuckheads
Yes.
podcast. That's like the best podcast that he does. But anyway, but one day I tweeted something and kind of pissed off a bunch of people. Mark Claire retweeted it and then did a whole podcast about it. I said something like, Tom Woods and Dave Smith pulled me in the Libertarian Party and Pete Quinones is pulling me out. And
you're the one. Gotcha.
Yeah, that was me. And then so Mark Claire did a whole show about that and just gained a lot of respect for Mark that day. Not knowing me at all. Like he at least had his approach was like, who cares, basically, like, who cares what he says? It's okay. So anyways, so then when I knew he was breaking off, I contacted him immediately and said, hey, let me advertise with you. I just started this brand. I want to advertise with you. And we waited a month. He got his first month out and then we started going. So we've been going with him since his first month. And I love Mark's show. I think Mark does a phenomenal job on his show now.
Right.
And I just like the change. And back when whenever he was doing libertarian stuff and I was libertarian, like every podcast just kind of sounded the same to me because it was all the same.
Yeah.
Just going over the same thing. It was like arguing over, if you wouldn't mow your neighbor's lawn, is that a violation of the NAP? Bullshit. And it was just, just got, it just got to the point where every show just seemed the same. And I got pulled in and pushed out like all within about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
I always called myself a libertarian, but
what were you? And by the way, there's so many fascinating aspects to that to me. And I wonder about, because libertarian podcast review. I mean, pigeonhole yourself, right? But it gets boring just kind of doing the same thing. And then if you're doing and you're only doing like Mark and them where a lot of philosophy and then interviews, that gets a little tiresome too. So you want to change things up. So I could see how it kind of pushes them maybe themselves out. Or you have to just, and so I like to do like, fun stuff, what we're doing here. I still did the last show I did, about Dave Smith in a.
It was a good show. I still love Dave Smith. Dave does a great job.
I'm totally with you. And I love those kind of things, but I'm more selective on those kind of people that I enjoy. It's not and I don't want to hear everybody. So I like that there's people, No Way Jose is doing his conspiracy stuff and you've got all these different Mark's thing, right? Pete. And I can pick and choose, and for me, it's made more of a plethora of podcasts that I enjoy now.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, and then the Jose stuff has been great. Like his stuff on OKC has been phenomenal. Like, just it's been really great. So, and like Pete still, every time he walks up to the plate, he hits a home run every single time. He's phenomenal, and just to watch his growth as a person and as a podcast has been wonderful. I really admire Pete a lot. Like I think he's one of the most genuine people in the movement. Like just making changes, like not in the libertarian movement, whatever it is. He's just such a great, genuine person.
And this is what's so fascinating about Pete. So. I became a fan of Pete early on. When I first did this show, he was one of the first ones that came on as a guest because I reviewed his show, and then he just contacted me and said, hey, I'll come on. And I'm like, excellent. My point is super nice. Dave's done that. Brian McWilliams, Mark Claire, Odermatt, a bunch of big people, and I love that they're willing to do that. But Pete has done that, and I have strong disagreements, and he's very toxic. He can be toxic online, and I've never fallen into his bad graces because I'm always just like, I'll make a joke. I like Pete, and he has been amazing to me behind the scenes, and he had me on his show, and we did some stuff. So exactly what you're saying. And this is it's this virtual world that we do all these things on here, and you don't always know. That's what I've actually really enjoyed about Justin when his fact checks this, and just had his late night stuff where it's just a bunch of us getting on there and kind of getting to know each other. It makes you feel like you have a connection. So anyway, are you sponsoring Pete? Is that
No, no, I'm not working with him on the sponsorship yet. I mean, I want to. We've talked about it a couple times, but not as of yet.
Because I was on I think it was one of his live streams, and he was pimping your stuff at least. So I was like, oh, maybe he just likes it. So we have.
Yeah, I send him a bag. That's the way I support him. I send him a bag. You know, just I love what he does, and I it's a way I can support him without. I mean, it's just a different way to do it, support wise.
I'm a member of multiple podcasts, like in either Patreon. Like I support Pete with that, Lions of Liberty, a bunch of these other ones, and that's just kind of the way I do it. And I feel like you're, because you got to be honest with me here. I mean, are you making money off the podcast sponsorship, or how is this working for you? With
most of them I don't. It's just to keep the name out there. Okay. I have my two biggest returns are from Mark and from It's Too Late.
You hear that, Alan? Alan finally got his plug in there.
Those are my biggest two returns. Are those two guys? I mean, I've worked with Courtney Turner. I've worked with I can't remember half the people right now I've worked with. I'll do a month here and a month there just to try out stuff, just to see how things go. But yeah, those have been my biggest returns on those. There's a couple people that I've been advertising with that I haven't seen one order from, but I love them as people. So,
well, I will.
No, you're not. No. Was he saying he's upping the rate now? Is that what he said?
Good for him. Look, I don't know if you don't have to say anything. I don't know if you're getting anybody from me except for me, but I will just say I'm a big coffee snob. Okay. So, I had heard Mark advertising with you and I was like, I'll check it out. And then you and I had made a connection. I'm like, I got to get some of this stuff. So I got it. I absolutely love it. So for me, even if it doesn't work out and you're like, Tyler, this is costing me money. First of all, I know as someone who owns a business, you need write-offs. So this is part of your, doing your good deed for your taxes in a sense.
But it's also a way I get to support the people I like. Either
kind of what I was saying with me. Yeah.
Like coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. So, look, it's what it is. Let's talk a little bit about the coffee. So first of all, you said you do photography as your mainstay that you're supporting your family with.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that, and how did you get into that? Was that just like, hey, you went from like a stalker creeper to I'm going to do this for a living, or what's your genesis?
Well, no, I have a very good friend who's been a lifelong friend. And he was getting into photography, and it was kind of one of those things like, he was in a band. I played stuff. I was in a band. So all that stuff, we always did a lot of stuff together, into a lot of music. And so he got into photography, and I picked up a camera. I had a couple of the friends that were into it, and I bought a couple cameras and started goofing around and started taking classes, and kind of fell into a job where I was an assistant to a photographer. We were shooting automotive stuff. So we were doing stuff for Car and Driver, stuff for GM, a little bit of Chrysler, mostly Car and Driver and GM. Then I started working for another guy that was doing Motor Trend and Ford. So I worked directly for Ford for several years in their photography department. I did 10 years where I was just an assistant. Oh, wow. I carried gear, loaded film, got sets, hired other assistants, traveled a lot. And I did that forever. And then it wasn't until probably 6 years into that, I stepped away, started trying to shoot on my own, and I wasn't ready yet. Moved down to Nashville, did some work for some record labels, which is what I really wanted to do at the time. Came back after a couple lawsuits.
Nashville.
Yeah, I was lived in Nashville for 2 years in the 90s. Did
you like it there?
Oh, I loved it. It was wonderful, but it wasn't panning out. And I was working, the guy who I worked for in Detroit, I was working more for him. So I was back and forth all the time. And it just got to the point where I was in Detroit more than I was in Nashville. So there's no reason for me to stay there.
Yeah.
I was just passing up too much work. So I ended up ended up moving back and started working for the guy Kenny. Started working for him again, and then a few other people, and just went back into assisting for a while. And then I was shooting like small product stuff. I was shooting for other photographers for a long time. We had a studio that I was like kind of managing for a couple of years, and then 20 years ago when I met my wife, we moved out here and we started shooting weddings together. And then now I'm back into doing more commercial and family seniors, a lot of product stuff. So that's what I do now.
So when you started, you said loading film. So is it film still, or is it mostly digital now?
It's all digital for people that do what I do. It's all digital. There's some guys that are going back to film. I would love to play with film again, but it's just, I had all the gear and sold it all. Now I don't have it anymore, so there's no point for me going back to film. But film is gorgeous. I love the way it looks. There's a feel and a look that you get on film that you'll never get on digital, no matter what you do.
But it's especially when you're out shooting, like you said, high school seniors or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I imagine you can be more cavalier in picture taking, right, than before. Just like, hey, fire off a bunch. Don't have to worry about going through a bunch of film.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, it's probably an advantage. And let's be honest, it's probably good enough quality for high school chicks with makeup.
Yeah. And when I shot seniors before, when I was shooting film, I was shooting like a medium format, so I was getting, I think, 15 shots per roll. So it'd be 5 shots that they would get off that roll if they got each shot off that roll. So you'd shoot what's called brackets. So you're shooting the same shot 3 times for every shot you do. So you would have your 10, 15 poses that you would do, and that's it. Like you wouldn't do. Now I'll mess around for an hour, get 200, 300, 500 shots and edit it down to like 50, and they get a whole slew of stuff. So it gives you the ability to be more creative. It gives you the ability to goof around more, but it also gives certain people the ability to do it and not really know what they're doing. And then they kind of, they're doing it for half the price, and so.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, we have 4 kids, and the youngest is a senior in high school, and we had all of them do photos. The 2 middle ones are girls, so those are really expensive. But and it's not cheap. Like we had some, this lady did them all, but she gave us a deal. But so are you keeping busy? Is this like a real lucrative career? I mean, imagine once you get
it ebbs and flows. Yeah. I mean, I have years that are phenomenal, and I have years that are horrible, and that's the other reason we started the second business. The other stream of income is so that we have a fallback. We have a different stream coming in because, like, COVID, I didn't work for a year, and it's like it's cute that the government was trying to give everybody money that time, but I mean, for people like me, it was kind of there, kind of not. If I was a large corporation, I could have gotten billions of dollars, no problem. But a small company, and they might have sent me a couple $100 if I would have really pushed for it. But I drove a van delivering wine for 2 years because of that. So.
Look, you and I are similar in the fact that we own our own business. So, that COVID thing as well. But I love how your fallback to being more stable is another entrepreneurial adventure. By the way, that's not everyone's built for these kind of things. I used to have a law partner. We went to law school together. We started, and it wasn't for him. He had to go work for the state, and he's like, "Oh, this is." I'm like, "Yeah, because you were." You don't make money unless you like put in the work, and it's not for everybody. You are literally, while you said Pete's taking you out, you are just the embodiment of libertarianism, though, as far as your own work ethic, I think. So. Well,
yeah, and I've always been that way. I've always called myself a libertarian up until a couple of years ago. But yeah, I pretty much did. Even when I was like voting for Bush Republican and not understanding who Ron Paul was. I would still call myself a libertarian because I thought that way. But yeah, it's hard when you own your own business because it's like, I'm on 24/7. I'm always on. If I'm laying in bed, I'm thinking about what I need to get done. I'm thinking about, how am I going to balance going to deliver 40 pounds of coffee and going to do a shoot and then going to visit my folks in Detroit, it's all on the same day. It's like, oh crap, how am I going to get all that done? So,
well, but so does your wife, does she have her, and you don't have to answer these, it's too personal, but does she have her own job? Does she work with you?
Yeah. No, she works. There was a couple years where she shot with me. She assisted. She did all of the paperwork end of stuff. She helps me out, like a lot of the stuff you see me post, a lot of the canvas. She makes all that stuff up for me. She edits a lot of stuff for me, which is necessary. And then, she has a full-time job. She works for a parachurch, or she works for a church organization, a church.
Okay.
So
no, I was just curious about because one thing that my wife, she works for a big company, but she works from home, and so it's the and I just saw that you had taken a trip here to California. So much like me, when I take trips, I don't get to take time off and get paid. It's just like I got to work ahead to plan. Mm-hmm. But now my wife can at least get paid, so that's a nice situation. Yeah. But that's another dynamic of owning your own business, especially if you're small and unless you're able to generate income, which you are. I imagine you're not shooting, but you're able to get the sales of the coffee at least.
Yeah, I mean, we had orders while we were gone, and both my boys were at home. So my youngest, who does stuff with me, is Fox and Sons. I'm trying to teach him. Yeah. How to run a business, how to do things. I mean, he doesn't want to deal with it half the time, but he's a 16-year-old boy. He wants to just play video games. But he did, while we were gone, he took care of all the orders, took care of inventory stuff for me, just dealt with all that stuff. And he did a great job. He's really good at it. He's actually really good when we do go out and do the markets, the farmers markets, and he sells. He's excellent when he does that. He's becoming a good salesman, and I'm excited. It's just fun to watch him grow like that. It's really a lot of fun.
That's a skill. It's I don't know if you watched Dave Smith's other thing, Legion of Skanks,
no.
But Louis J. Gomez, that kind of owns Gas Digital, and he's part of that. Okay. He's a comedian, but he talks about being young and, whether he was selling weed or then he was selling comedy tickets and he got into that. It's always marketing. He's always selling. And I think that's a skill that can take you a long way, especially as an entrepreneur. But even if you go out and do other things, you're always trying to sell yourself in a way. Mm-hmm. So that's fascinating. And there's too many young kids that are nervous and don't talk. And I had to sell, my grandpa was selling fruit in the summer, and I would have to go do that. And it taught you to, come out of your shell in a way, and, you got to go get the money and stuff. So that's fascinating that he's doing that.
Yeah. And Andy? Part of,
I was going to say that's Tyler's code for gay prostitution.
That's true. Not completely wrong. Okay.
I got a couple coffee questions, but I'm going to hold off. And when you're ready,
we'll get to coffee here in a second.
Yeah, sorry, we'll get there. I think I got that from working with my dad when I was, from the time I can remember. My dad owned a company, partially owned a company, and he was the buyer. But on Saturday, I'd go to work with him. And that's part of the story on our page. Yeah. I'd go to work with my dad on Saturday. We'd have breakfast. We'd have coffee. And that's kind of where I started drinking coffee. I mean, it was always crap coffee, but it was coffee. And I was like, oh, I get to have a cup of coffee today. But we'd go to work and stuff like that. But my dad taught me, how to count back to a customer, how to count back change. So they hand you 20. You don't just throw whatever their change is on the counter. You actually count it back to them. And you
start out with 20 and you count out.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You count back down. You count down to what the change is, or up or whatever. So yeah, but he taught me all that stuff. He taught me how to do that. He taught me how to do stock. I worked for my dad for a long time. I worked in his warehouse until I cussed out his business partner, and then my dad had to fire me. That is a true story. I told his business partner what he could do with himself because I hated him. But then, they made my dad fire me. The guy didn't have the balls to come talk to me. They made somebody else fire me. But the fun part was a couple years later, they hired me to shoot a bunch of furniture for them. So do all that. I charged them like 10 times what I should have charged them, which is the best part.
Revenge.
Yeah. So that's just kind of how I got into it. But I was always doing stuff like mowing lawns. I would work for my dad over the summers. I would take whatever jobs I could find, whether it was delivering papers, working at McDonald's, doing whatever I could find to do, raising money to get a lawnmower to go cut lawns with our neighbors, and charging $5 back then to do lawns. And I was just always hustling, Never got into the drugs thing, never selling drugs because we grew up in the church and I was kind of looked down on.
Yeah.
So,
same here.
But yeah, it was that's where I learned how to do all that stuff, and just a very great experience with him and learning all that and figuring all that out. So
yeah, that's fantastic. And by the way, people, this is good things happening to people, and then they pass that stuff on, and what I mean by that is parenting. I remember when I was having my wife was pregnant with our first, and my uncle's like, "Oh, you excited about this?" And I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I've had such a great relationship with my own father. I'm excited to have this with my own son. And it's true. You pass those good things along. I have a great relationship with my parents, and it's good to pass those kind of things on. And it sounds like you're obviously doing that there, rather than this perpetual cycle of bad that always happens, and that you hope you get your kids out of it. So sounds like you have good kids working in the coffee field. And do they drink coffee?
No, my youngest one will have like I call them milkshakes. It's like sugar with coffee in it. So he'll have something like that. My older one doesn't drink coffee. He drinks just basically water and soda or whatever is available. He's 18. He'll be 19 this year. It's funny because I used to tell them like 18 and out. 18, figure out what you're going to do.
Right.
Before he turned 18, I sat him down. I'm like, hey, you don't have to leave. You can stay here as long as you need to. Save all your money. Don't move out. Stay home. I want you here. It was just my heart changed. Like everything on me changed. Like I moved out when I was 17. I hated living in my parents' house.
But it all depends on that child too, right? I mean, if your child was a complete menace, lazy, you might say,
they're that. Yeah, they are that.
Oh, well,
so.
Okay. Oh, so you're the bad seed then. Why coffee? I know you said you like to drink it and all. I do too. I've never thought of getting into it, like selling it. So tell me how that came about, like why you decided to do that. And then what are those steps to acquiring the beans? Are you roasting it yourself? All of that I'm fascinated by this. People may or may not be, whatever.
That's okay. So the reason I went with coffee is I wanted something I was passionate about. Because I can sell whatever. I could sell anything. I'm good at sales. But when it came to figuring out what a second stream of income could be, it tossed around a bunch of ideas, but coffee was the one I came back to. And so it was kind of one of those things for me. Is like I really just want to do something that I can push, I can be behind, that I love, and because the only way I can sell something is if I really sell it. Is if I love it. I know my work is good photography wise. I know it's really good, so I can sell it. I know my coffee is really, really good, so I can get behind it. I can push it. I can get it out there. There's a lot of people that will start a coffee company, and they might advertise on their show, or they might get a couple people to advertise it for a little while. Actually, I got my coffee in Tim Pool's hands thanks to the Tower Gang guys.
Well, he started his own coffee thing now.
It was right when he was starting it. I was trying to get it in his hands to talk about just to get a plug. But anyways,
No free shout outs, Tyler. No free shout outs.
Yes.
Tim Pool, you owe us money for that.
Okay. Tim Pool, send a check. Okay.
So yeah, so it was for me. It was just getting something that I loved. And then my big search was trying to figure out where to get beans from, how to source them. So I talked about it for a year before I did anything. Like, I know my friends and probably my wife were just like, shut up and just either do something or don't. I don't care anymore. I don't want to hear about it again. Talked to a bunch of different producers. And then my same friend that I was talking about earlier, he has his guitar player in his band is a graphic designer and designed our label. Designed the logo on the label, although, can you see it? There we go. He designed that for us. And one of his friends and one of his clients is a roaster and is a importer. So I went up and met with him, tried his stuff. We designed some stuff, and then we started out teaching me how to, we're working on figuring out how to roast and all that stuff. And for the first year, we were figuring, like, I don't know how this is going to go anywhere. I don't want to invest $150,000 into gear that who knows if it's going to ever work, if I'm going to make this work. So we had everything's packaged and roasted up at that facility where we import from. And he's been teaching me about how to roast, how to get what you want out of your beans. And then we're still doing everything up there. We're hoping in the next year-ish to buy a property with 2 to 4 acres on it with an outbuilding and move a roaster in there. And then we're going to co-roast each other's products because he has a big line that he roasts that's all over the Midwest. And then one of his, his idea for business is not building a giant factory so that, you're shipping all over. It's like wherever you're going down to, you're building, you're co-packing with that other person and they're packaging your stuff to go further. So he's only going to go so far. I'm going to go so far. Somebody else is going to go so far. And so that's the long-term business.
So in a sense, you can get into working with another person just like yourself, roasting for them for a while.
Yeah. So so when we get to that point where when we put that facility together, I'll have a built-in 5,000 to 10,000 bags a week I'll be producing for somebody else immediately. So,
how much does it cost for a roaster?
For the size I would need, it would be for everything, not just the roaster. Everything would be probably $250, $300 for everything.
There's a coffee shop that's not too far from here where you walk in and the front room, it's a side room, it's just this giant roaster. And one, it looks cool. Two, it's a great smell always in there. Yeah. But they do their roasting right there. So yeah.
Well, and it's like I don't ever want a coffee shop. Like I do not want to own a coffee shop. Coffee shop's a pain in the ass. Like everybody that you get people that come in and want to buy one cup of coffee and stay there for 2 hours, and take up a table where you can't.
You got to be there on the weekends.
Yeah, you're there every single day. Your margins are thinner than it is on the stuff that I'm selling. And it's just like, it's not worth it. It's just not. I don't understand how people make money having coffee shops. You have to sell food and then you have to sell bags, and it's a very extremely thin margin. It's thinner than most restaurants. So if a restaurant's making 10-20%, like you're probably making 7 to 12% at a coffee shop.
And then you're hiring a bunch of like high school or college kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I that retail stuff for me, I mean, it's bad enough. Actually, what I do is fine. But yeah, I would not want to be in food sales or retail, that kind of thing. The obligation to be open on holidays or these, different times, it would be painful. So anyway, good for you on that. Well, let's look at your coffees. So these are some of them here. So what did you decide? And it's how much input? I mean, I'm sure you have all the input, but going and selecting the kinds that you wanted. What have you learned? Because you said you're just learning for some of these. So what are you learning for all these different ones?
Well, let me start out here. We started out with the dark roast and the light roast. Those were our first two.
These Den Blend?
The Den Blend Dark and the Den Blend Light. The Den Blend the Den Blend Dark, the reason I wanted that one is because I wanted a dark roast that didn't taste burnt. A lot of the ones I get taste burned. They have horrible aftertaste. They don't brew well. And we worked really hard to get that one. It's a blend from Peru. 3 small family farms. Everything we do is organic, small family farms. We're not certified organic, and I'm not paying the government to tell me my stuff's organic. They can go pound sand. I'm not paying them what they want to tell me that my stuff is what it is. So the Boogaloo, the light, and the dark are all the same beans, just roasted differently.
Okay.
They're versatile beans, so you can do that with that. The light is going to be, that one's super mellow or super bright, actually. Very acidic, I think. And just real bright, real high, a lot of those high sour notes, depending on how you make it. If you make it a French press, it won't be, but if you make it a pour over, you're going to get some of that sours out of it. But a lot of people really enjoy that. I enjoy it once in a while, but not all the time. Then the Den Blend Dark is just, in my opinion, like I said, it's the perfect French roast. That's the one that Pete drinks. That's the one Tommy drinks. That's what Mark Claire drinks. They all drink that Den Blend Dark. I think that's honestly, and whether it's mine or not, I think it's the perfect roast for a French roast. A lot of stuff I did got dialed in.
Let me talk about that run real quick. So this is what I've noticed. So the Den Blend Dark, as an example, it's got more of a wet feel to the bean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's oily. Yeah, it's oily.
Yeah, it's oily. Exactly. What makes it that? Since you're saying it's the same bean, but it's just roasted different. What makes it that way? And by the way, as someone who's a connoisseur of many kind of things, when you get the Starbucks coffee, they are all like that as well. I get some different kind of coffees around here. It's more of the like the Brazilian. It's a drier. And by the way, I use a Breville espresso maker, so I weigh my beans.
Nice.
And the weight for the dark, I have to do 2 ounces less than I do for the lighter version to get the same output. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Anyway, go.
I don't weigh my stuff out. I just kind of, I do everything by sight, by feel. I'm probably the worst person, like, to be doing what I'm doing. But the reason the dark roast is the longer you roast it, the oils come out of the bean, so it pulls that out, and that's why it gets oily. Gotcha. But if you notice with the Boogaloo, when you mix the light and the dark, the oils come off because it's mixed in with the light roast, and it kind of pulls the oils. That's kind of pulling the oils out of it as well and into the other bean for some reason. I don't know why it does that, but it does it. But yeah, that French roast, the longer you roast it, the more oils you're getting out of it, and as well you're actually getting less caffeine. So
the longer you roast it?
Yeah, the darker the roast, the less caffeine. The lighter the roast, the more caffeine.
That's so interesting because the other day, only one I had left was the Den Blend, and my wife's like, is this extra strong today? And I'm like, no, but it was the dark roast, and she thought it was extra, like, I don't know, maybe the taste is still more robust.
Yeah, it's a very robust coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, it is an extremely robust coffee. It's a French roast. It's always going to be really super robust. The light roast, I can only drink so much of the light roast because my I can feel my chest. Like I can feel it pounding. I joke around and say it's like I go to hummingbird mode at that point because it's like just like it's insane how much.
So that's fascinating to me. That okay. So I've always thought dark roast was. I didn't really look
Everybody
into this.
thinks that. That's okay.
Right? Okay. You don't even have to explain it. But in case people are not, or they're listening and they're confused, what you're saying is dark roast has less caffeine. The light roast actually has more, which is crazy because if it's not as robust, you're able to probably drink it a little bit more, but yet you're able to almost like mainline caffeine. So
well, like if you go to some of the big producers like a Starbucks, like their light roast, like I can't even drink anything that they do light roast. Like it's just because they already add extra caffeine to their stuff. They spray it in, but like I can't touch their light roast because like I get like heart palpitations when I do that. Like it's bad. Like I actually can feel my heart pounding if I drink a light roast from like a Starbucks or one of the bigger producers.
I have a friend who works in pretty high up in Starbucks here in California, and she was talking to me about how they are pretty specific about how all their coffee is. So that it's universal. So, you get it at one store, it's going to be the same everywhere. And I'm like, I totally understand. I hate it at every single store I go to. So,
I will say this, and I don't care what anybody thinks, like Starbucks, a quad Americano is the same everywhere and it's always good. If I'm driving and I'm out of state and I don't have my stuff, I'll go get a quad Americano or I'll get a nitro from Starbucks because I know those are going to be consistently good. The nitro they do is perfect. Like I don't care who you are, they have the perfect nitro.
I'm just not a fan of their flavor, but I get it. I get it. Yeah.
No, I don't like their stuff anymore either. I mean I drank it for years, but I think they changed their beans. I think because they produce so much, they like being on the other end of the industry, like the stuff we get, sometimes I can only get 100 pounds of it. So I don't know how they're producing what they're producing. I really don't understand how they're producing what they're producing.
They're getting it with that, what is it, Kavit coffee, the cats that crap it out. Do you have one of those coming in the line?
Hell no. I will never have one of those in. Nope. None of my coffee will come out of anybody's ass.
Okay.
I guarantee that.
Boof and coffee. So I was talking to my sister-in-law. I was hoping there was something the other day, and she knows I like coffee, so she was gonna send me something for over Christmas. And then she was telling me about all these trips she's been on, and she was down in Colombia, and she's telling me. Anyway, the point is, she went into one of these Kavit places, and I was like, yeah, I know what it is all about, and she was telling me how fantastic, and I can't get there. I can't. It's just not gonna be. Copy Luca or whatever to coffee. Yeah.
No, I can't do it. I cannot do it. It's just.
That's good to
hear. It's like eating sea urchin. Like there's just certain things you should never put in your mouth.
Right. Right. I agree.
I tried sea urchin once, and it was the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my mouth. So.
Speaking of which, Andy, did you still have questions?
Yes. Can you promise that your coffee is from a war-torn South American country?
Except for the stuff from Africa, yes.
Hell yeah. My next question is, I'm going to try and fire these away because I know my audio sucks.
That's okay. It actually sounds better right now.
Well, not right now. Hello?
Well, yeah. It sounds better than it did earlier. There's no background.
And then he's gone. Okay, bummer. So where do you source most of your coffee from?
So the Den Blend, Light, Dark, Boogaloo, and Decaf are all from Peru.
Okay.
Tanzania's gone. The Peaberry's gone. We don't have that anymore.
Okay.
I had 200 pounds of that and sold the crap out of it this summer. That was a quick one. The Mexicans from Mexico, it's a honey prep, so the honey prep coffees, the big difference between those are they're basically semi-washed coffees.
Okay, so explain to me the name. It sounds like you probably, the Mexican, it sounds like you really had a lot of thought of what you wanted to name it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No?
I want to come up with like, okay, so the Boogaloo definitely has a name that's fun.
Yeah.
And that's more of a family private joke than it is anything else.
Do you take Bitcoin?
Yes, I do.
There you go, JC. Go get some coffee.
All right, I got my
Is that
questions ready.
Justin?
Sorry.
Is that Justin, JC?
I don't think it is. JC
okay.
is in all our chats. Big fan of all the shows that most people do.
Yeah.
And
I always thought that was Justin. Okay.
I don't
Anyways,
think it is.
Go on. Sorry. Go with the rest of your question.
Can you? Now that I know you do photography, can you? Are we going to get a far right wing coffee calendar for the ladies? So, and this kind of leads into my next question: will your coffee get my dick hard?
Yes, it definitely will.
There you go.
All right.
What about however you want to do it is up to you, but yes, it will.
I'll fluff it up and we'll put some Hugo Boss on it, and I'll be Mr. October or something.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I don't want to be a part of that calendar. Okay, so continue.
It's
so the
demonic,
Mexican, you came up with the name Mexican. Is that because it's from Mexico? That's like my son who named his lizard Lizzie.
Yes, it is from Mexico. It's a honey prep coffee. So the honey prep coffee is a semi-wash, but what they do is they pick all the coffee comes in cherries. They pick the cherries off the tree. They lay them in beds in the sun, let it dry in the sun, and then once that happens, they take them. They do a quick semi-wash on them. Then they get all the rest of the pulp off. They dry everything, and then it comes to us, and then we roast it. Whereas the Ethiopian's a full natural, never has been washed. So, and then you got like all the stuff out of Peru and the Guatemala, like all those are fully washed. But so you get different flavors out of the naturals and the Brazils or the honey preps that you don't normally get out of coffees. I think you get more like the Ethiopian's a light roast, but it's not bright like a normal light roast. It's not going to have those acidics, those brightness that you would in that. It's going to be more. I tell people it tastes like dirt. it's kind of gritty for a light roast. And at first I wasn't sure if I liked it, but I love it now. Like I think
I'm a big fan of a lot of coffees from Ethiopia.
Yeah,
they a lot of them have like a fruity kind of undertone to them. And why is that?
Well, most of them are light roast, and that light roast is going to be more of a fruitier. You're going to get more of those because you're not roasting it so much that you're roasting a lot of those flavors out. And a lot of the stuff you can't roast that dark, like with the Ethiopian, like it's impossible. If you go any darker than it is right now, you'd ruin it. It tastes like crap. So gotcha. You would just completely ruin the bean. So and then I have another Ethiopian that we haven't released yet. That is a fully washed one that is going to be a lot brighter, you're going to get a lot of those more fruity tones out of it, especially if you're doing pour overs, stuff like that.
So you said washed and unwashed. I understand that concept, but what does that really do for it?
Well, they say when you wash it, like you're already getting it wet, so you're kind of pulling some flavor out of it to begin with. Whereas when you do it natural, when you're just running it through that thing and it's pulling all that stuff, it's pulling all the fruit off of it. You're not getting that. It's not the same. So you're not pulling flavor out of it at that point.
So when you receive coffee, you're saying when you receive it, it's either washed or unwashed, correct?
Yeah, or semi-washed, like the honey preps. Both the honey preps are semi-washed.
But you don't actually wash it before you roast. Okay, so it's not any additional process for you.
No,
it's just a
when it comes in the bag. We dump it in the roaster and start roasting.
Gotcha.
Some producers, I've heard of producers that wash stuff when they get it. I don't know how they do it. Like I don't know. I'm not sure how they do that. They probably have bigger machines and bigger facilities to do that. So. And I'm still learning so much. Like I'm learning every single day. I spend hours reading and watching videos on how to do stuff and what differences are and stuff. Before I started this, I'd never heard of a honey prep coffee or a full natural or semi-wash. I've never heard those terms before. Just like, I just like coffee. taste good.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, like I said, I'm a coffee snob, but I'm also just a coffee lover. So I'll drink Keurig coffee. I'll get 7-Eleven.
I draw the line at Keurig.
I do. I still, it's like, there's some convenience at like my office. That's just where I have it here. Now at home, I haven't done anything but make, and I'm gonna bring this on here because I'll show you some of the other. Okay, so I have a Bialetti.
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever used these.
I love mocha pots. That's like one of my absolute favorite ways of having coffee.
And people should check these out because this is one of the big ones. But you can even take these camping. It's just simple. You put nice filtered water in there, fill your grounds, make them nice and coarse, and then it just.
Oh no! Regular drip.
That's not what I've done.
Okay.
You don't want them too fine, or they go through the filter.
No, you don't want espresso fine, but regular drip will work perfect. That works. And in fact, I find if you do it too coarse, you don't get this. I don't think you get full flavor out of it because it goes through so fast.
Okay. Oh, maybe I haven't done
this
this
for
a while.
So, you know how when you do a French press, it's it sits in the water.
Yeah.
So it's soaking the flavor out. It's pulling the flavor out into the water. When you're doing a drip, it's pushing the flavor out.
Oh, okay.
When you're doing that, it's kind of pushing it, but it's also. But the finer the grind, the more you're getting out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Here's one of my. Yeah. So here's one of my French press, big carafe.
That's gorgeous. That's a nice one.
It is. And like you've said, kind of the process there is you want to let it steep in there before you actually plunge it for a while. So, then one of the other things I've done is I've got myself a hand grinder. This is a burr grinder, so it actually smashes it up rather than cuts it. I don't know if that's the ideal way or not.
Yes.
But that's what I.
It is. Burr grinders are better because they crush and they crush the bean instead of cutting it and ripping it apart. I've noticed a difference since I've switched to a burr grinder. I have one of those cheap little hand, those little grinders that you buy at Walmart. I've had one of those for years, and I switched over to a really nice burr grinder. I mean, you can get a good burr grinder for $70-80.
Yeah.
$50, $40. It's, depends on how much you use it. But yeah, so just one of those, and then mine, I can switch the grind on it, so I can go super fine espresso all the way to like a Turkish coffee, and I can go all the way down to like a full, coarse French press grind.
Yeah, this has a way that you can adjust it in here to make it as fine or whatever courses you need to.
Yeah.
And by the way, I got rid of all the electric ones. I just got rid. And look, for me, this is stupid, but maybe this is just me in my old age, which is. The coffee, good or bad, whatever. I just love the process. I'm a process guy. I take way too much. I enjoy all these stupid things. I love making coffee in one of these things and one of the other things, and then my other process. I don't even have one of your old school coffee makers anymore, and I may get one again just because it's convenient and you have all those. So anyway. That's what is there any kind of coffees that are like I said, I have an espresso maker but I make coffee out of it, which is it takes shots and then I just add water or like an Americana, and it's fantastic to me. Are there different kind of coffees that should be going with different kinds of machines?
I mean, so personally, I think the Mexican works great in all of them. I like it best as espresso.
Just like they work on your yard, your backyard, their car. They'll do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you put them to work to do, they do. And so the Mexican's great all the way around. I think it's best in espresso or French press, but I think it makes a phenomenal pour over as well. The Guatemalan, I think I'm not a real big fan of the Guatemalan as an espresso, but as a pour over and French press, I love it. And I only bring the coffees out that I like. So if I don't like it, I'm not gonna buy it, and then I'm not gonna roast it and sell it. So the Guatemalan, is definitely gonna be not an espresso. I think Boogaloo makes a phenomenal espresso.
Yes,
So-
I do like that a lot for that.
Yeah, the Boogaloo makes a phenomenal espresso, but the Brazil, I think, hands down, is the best espresso I've ever had. As the best as an espresso. So I think that one is just hands down one of the best coffees we've ever done. Ethiopian is going to be good pour over, good French press. And then the dark roast, I think, is French press is the best way to do the dark roast. I don't mind it as an espresso. I have a client that buys a bag every week because he drinks it as espresso. I think it's too harsh for espresso, but he loves it. He thinks it's perfect for that.
As someone who only makes espresso, I would agree. I'm not a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
But
try it as a French press and tell me what
I
you
will
think.
do that because I have a bag of that, and I will throw it in as I haven't done a French press for a while, but
Try it as
I have a few French presses.
And see, the problem with the mocha pot is I was like, my son bought me that last year for Christmas, and I didn't really use it much. About 2 months ago, I started using it, and that's all I was drinking was the mocha pot. And I actually had to stop myself and put it away because everything else was tasting so weak and so bad. Like everything else, like I would do Brazil as a mocha pot, and then I would try to make a French press and be like, oh, this has no flavor. But I literally had to put it away because it was ruining my palate completely.
And by the way, if you get one of these ones, there's a bunch of different brands out there, but
that's
what
the
I
best,
love,
though. That brand is the best.
And this is the biggest one that they have. What's great about this is I've had the handle break a few times, and you could just order a handle replacement. The inside, the gasket,
the gasket
has problems. It gets dried out and stuff, and you can order new gaskets. You can order new parts of this. So this thing is very versatile, and then the convenience of it. It's very similar if you go camping and you see these same kind of drip. And I've taken it camping, and it works just fine as well. You just have to maybe grind your beans ahead of time because it might be.
Well, and the thing with camping too is you got to make sure you bring a something to grab the handle with, or else you'll burn your hand up. Right. Those kind of hurt once in a while.
Yep.
So
because the flame's a little bit different. It depends on what kind of stove or whatever you have there.
Yeah, if you're doing that on a gas stove, I'd highly recommend getting the deflector that they sell for it. That's needed. I have a buddy of mine that does his, and he does a cast iron pan and puts it on top of that.
Oh, okay.
So, but they take 10 minutes. Like it takes 10 minutes. It's a long process. So if you're impatient, don't buy one.
And by the way, the REI and some of these they make a version of this that heats up much faster. So for camping, you might want to get one of those rather than this one, only because
they're not as good though. They're too thin.
They're not as good, but the problem I've had with these is depending on what kind of stove or whatever you have, it's not the same gas or electric stove you'd have at home for the heating process. So I've been camping and taken a little bit. And by the way, you go there and you make this nice coffee, and then you have some leech friends and they want your coffee. And now you're like making a bunch. Next thing you know, you're out of grounds. And for what? For these losers that you are just facilitating their coffee addictions for? I don't know.
Yeah, and you're right. Don't buy the small one. I have the small one, and I had to go buy a big one because I was going through it way too much. And you will use a lot more coffee. It takes a lot more actual grounds to make that because it's not like a normal espresso. I think it comes out creamier, comes out softer, a little bit less acidic. That's why I like the French press too, because I think the French press really, you don't get anything acidic at all out of a French press. Like,
yeah, I like a good French.
Everybody needs to stop doing drip makers because it adds with coffees that are already prone to be acidic. When you're doing it through a drip, you're gonna just make that acidic worse.
And that's just your old school kind of filter coffee, right? Drip.
Okay, so JC, put whatever you want in your coffee. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Just buy your coffee from me. If you want to put butter in it, if you want to put cream and sugar in it, mocha, make mocha out of it, I don't care. Just buy good coffee.
And by the way, this, you talked about you being in a band and such. Music to me is the same way, which is it's so personal, right? Like how you fix
unless it's country.
Or
country
Eminem. Or Eminem. So
I can see that. I grew up in Detroit. He's an asshole.
No, I'm real. There's two bands, two groups. I always say, look, it's personal. You like your own stuff. except for Eminem and Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're just the scourge. And then people
REM.
fans,
REM.
REM. Okay. I like
I hate
REM,
REM.
but
I
I respect your dislike of Michael Stipe. So
they have one or two decent songs, but the rest of their stuff is just garbage.
let's take a look at this, because this is disturbing to me. Ellen says, as a top salesperson for Fox and Sons Coffee, I'm embarrassed to admit I never drink coffee and have never had coffee I liked. What am I doing wrong? Has God abandoned me? You never had God in your life.
Yes, so
right. That seems odd. That hurts my soul.
Yeah, I don't care. He sells coffee for me. I'm good.
Well, you shouldn't care, right? You're like, I don't care.
I mean, I care about his soul. I do, but
yeah,
you
good
should.
Point.
So, Tyler, you should come out for the event in May, right? Right now in May. You should come out for that, because I'll be out for that as well.
So I would love to. The problem I have is the month of June is crazy, because we have end of May, one kid graduates. I have a nephew that's getting married. His fiance/wife is going to graduate med school. And then I have a niece that's having a wedding in South Carolina, and we're going to fly out there. This is the first part of June. And then we're going to go to Nashville for a little bit. So, and then I've got another graduation later on that month. So I'm so booked and already planned for this June. I can't make the May part, but I'm thinking the next year, May 18th. Yeah, I just won't work there. But when I'm there in June, I know you won't be there, but I'm going to try to stop into Nashville. I'll try to see if Alan and Andy could come out and say hi to them. So
cool. Yeah. Well, Andy, you got to come out then for that, because I think that's going to be fun. I'm going to be selling coffee. I'm going to be selling coffee there. We're going to have whatever facility is going to be serving Fox and Sons. But we're just going to be hanging out and talking. I want to talk to Justin though, because I want to get us all together to do a live morning after show on Friday morning. So I think that'd be kind of fun.
So what's COVID really pushed the online podcast, like being able to do it like this, which is great. StreamYard and Zoom really hit that. But I was doing a podcast before then. It started in 2016. It was all cycling, and it was it's mostly local here. And I'd go out and interview people. And the personal sit down podcast is phenomenal. And this is great, but when you do see a show that they're all in person, it's just something that's different about it. Yeah. So I want to come out to what's the event there in Texas? That's kind of the Liberty thing, and then another one in Massachusetts. And,
I forget the one in Texas. I don't know. Yeah. I want to go there too, because I want to go see Bob. I want to meet Bobby Pearson. He does a lot of stuff for Buck and those guys. I think he works on Mark Claire's show. I think he does some stuff behind the scenes for his. And then I want to go meet Tommy Salmons. Tommy Salmons is like one of my absolute favorite people in the world. He's just an amazing guy. Childeberg.
Yeah, there we go.
I want to meet Tommy Salmons. So
I do too. I've been on his show. He's been on mine a bit, and he's always a great guy. There's so many out there. These people that I just really have a lot of pleasure talking to and meeting, and you're one of them. So I appreciate it. So you want to plug anything before we head out? We've done a good hour of talking about coffee.
Okay. Well, foxandsons.com. What's your review? Review for 18% off. StephenFox.com for photography stuff. If you have products you need photographed, send them to me and I'll shoot them and send them back to you. And the morning after show once in a while whenever I get a chance to be on there. I've been stupid busy, so I haven't been down there lately. I think we're doing one Monday morning. I'm not sure. And then I troll Alan on his show, so he has to talk about me a lot and actually promote me more. So it's been a fun way to do it too. So.
Good point. You're often in the chat on my show, and it does remind me to say some things. Once again, I think you've taken this. Maybe you understand that this coffee isn't just like, oh, I'm glad you're taking care of me. This is a passion of mine as well, of drinking it. I not only and have a cup here, but there's actual coffee in here right now, and it's 5 o'clock p.m. I drink coffee all day.
So what's been your favorite? You didn't tell me what your favorite was.
I love the honey prep, the Brazil.
Yeah.
I do like the Ethiopian.
You did get a new crop, so it's changed.
Okay.
The flavor profile's changed a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, the Ethiopian was good. The Mexican, I think I had that one was good, or the Guatemalan, one of those two. The Boogaloo was good as well. The honey prep, I think, was my favorite.
Yeah, the Mexican's also 100%. So here's the wrong side. Everything's reversed here, I guess. We even changed. That's a 5-pound bag that goes to the coffee shop. So we just changed the name to Brazil. We took out the honey prep because people like Alan keep saying it tastes like honey. So I took it off. Actually, I did that because of Alan. So
nice.
Avoid stomach aches. You stop using a drip coffee maker. Don't use Keurig. Keurigs are awful. They're the worst. Plus the plastics. French press it. Yes, you have said worse than that. I would say switch to a French press. Darker roasts are going to be less acidic, so the Mexican, the dark roasts will be better. Even the Ethiopian is going to be less acidic, even though it's a light roast, but it shouldn't taste the way it tastes with it being a light roast. Anything darker, anything light is going to be more acidic. Anything lighter than darker, like if you think of everything on a scale, like a medium roast is a scale. It's not just one thing. So it could be a light medium or a dark medium. So anything that's closer on that to the darker side is going to be less acidic for you.
I would also say, just like an alcoholic, you've got to practice. So, just practice drinking it all day and then see what happens. And
actually heavy cream, like instead of regular milk, just use heavy cream. That'll drop the acidity down as well. I had the same problem. I still can't drink coffee out of a regular drip coffee maker. I can't drink a lot of it because I always get bad acid when I do that. So I have to not drink that.
Are you a creamer guy? Black?
No. I'm just black now. I was all cream. I did cream before up until about 3 years ago. And then I stopped doing cream. When I started doing this, when I started getting more into it, when I started experimenting with roasting, I stopped drinking, putting cream in there. Once in a great while, I will, but it's not often.
There you go, people. There's some tips and tricks for you along the way. I just wanted to bring this up. This is this is right here, Coffee Talk with Steve. I appreciate you being on. But go check out especially the last one where I did a breakdown of Dave Smith's gotcha debate. I thought that was really good. We've also got Alan in the mix here. He did his Tennessee Sniffle. Look at that. And Kyle, he's also sponsors with you, or you sponsor with him. Yeah. So go check those out, people. I appreciate it. Other than that, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming, and I think it was important. It was important work.
Thanks for the infomercial. I appreciate that.
Well, and I thought, look, has anybody just had you come on to talk about what you do? You sponsor all these people.
Kyle had me on. Yeah, Kyle had me on. But we talked more about how much I hate the Michigan Libertarian Party than anything else.
Well, I'll let you come on maybe another time to talk about that. But other than that, have a good new year. Once again, I'm looking forward to your coffee coming in the mail. Everybody else, have a good new year. Once again, we're going to try to do these on Fridays. So until then, see you next time.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. And I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast, I can't find it anywhere, and they don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke, yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert.
he's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than
So
a
he's
49-year-old wigger.
like,
I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But
For
anyways,
a boomer.